updated September 24th numbers. I want to point out there was an error under total credit enrollment that indicated that headcount enrollment had increased 10.5%, where in fact it should have been decreased 10.5%. I apologize for not catching that error. I'm going to provide you with numbers from the October 1st weekly enrollment report, since that is the most up-to-date information that we have, and I think that would be of most interest to you. So overall total enrollment as of October 1st, headcount is down 4.9%. So we have closed the gap from September 24th when headcount was down 8.5%. FTEs are down 4.1%, also closing the gap from September 24th when FTEs were down 6.6%. And I can go through, if you'd like, I can go through the various categories of full-time, part-time, Gemini. Gemini does reflect, is predominantly the reason why we have closed the numbers gap. As of September 24th, Gemini headcount enrollment was down 34.5%. As of October 1st, it's down 1.1%. FTEs on the 24th of September were down 30.7%. And as of October 1st, FTEs are up 1.7%. So I'll stop and see if you have questions about that.
Any questions for Dr. Urbatus? Well, Carol, I have one quick question. The non-credit state aidable,
Yes,
has gone up quite a bit.
Yes.
It's significant. What do you attribute that to?
that is attributed to the fact that the New York State Education Department has allowed online learning. Whereas in the past, it had to be face-to-face.
Thank you.
We saw that during the past academic year where we saw non-credit state aidable numbers increase significantly over 2020.
That's good news.
And that is the reason why. And we're hoping that they allow its continuance, because clearly there is a market out there and it is more broadly serving the community.
Without question. Thank you. Other questions for Dr. Urbatus? Thank you.
Welcome.
Dr. Kaiser, you on? We can bring up the retention.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to share my screen so that you could see the PowerPoint, which is the retention update, which should be in your board packets. Could everyone hear me and see my screen?
Yes, we're good.
Great, thank you. Let's start off. So I want to start with what I provided last month, which is an overview of all of our retention efforts. And again, if I could sort of sum up how we're approaching retention, is we're trying to leverage high-tech solutions and ideas to provide customized services to students. And I want to spend a deep dive in our expanded intake survey. So I want to do a sort of a drill down on this particular element of our retention efforts. We provided, we really dug deeper in our intake survey and created a more robust intake survey for new and continuing students. We started this work in June with new students and got such a robust data set that in July and August, we started doing it for continuing students as well. And I think that's particularly important because we have many students who are second-year students who had never stepped a foot on our campus last year. So this information is very relevant, but the purpose of this is to provide customized push communications to students. So we're using this data to find out what students' needs are, and then those particular offices are sending customized messages to these particular groups of students. It provides more high-touch advising experiences, both for our professional advisors and our faculty, because we're storing much of this information in our Starfish advising notes, and we're discussing it as a college, both in our functional offices, but also in group meetings, such as an all ASA or all academic and student affairs division meeting. There's 3 areas of focus. One would be students' intent. What are their career and transfer pathways? What do they intend to do? Another area of focus is basic needs and their college readiness. And then the third and final area, which is really important, is how they feel COVID has impacted their learning and their college experience. I'm going to take a deep dive highlighting some of what I think is the more interesting data. So you can see on our left, we have continuing students, and on our right, new students. So for example, out of our new students, this survey was responded by over 500 students, 515 to be exact, which represents 35% of our new students. So that's a really high survey response rate. Because we started later with our continuing students, we have about 200 students, I think 192 specifically, but still rather robust in terms of response rate. So this is pretty valid or accurate information. In terms of basic needs, which is the category I have in front of you right now, you can see housing insecurity is really not a huge deal for many of our students. So 98% of it said they'd have no housing insecurity, but for 2% of our students, it is. They do experience some level of homelessness. Food insecurity, I thought, was really quite telling. Out of our new students, 8% of students, 8%, experienced some sort of hungry. They didn't have enough food to satisfy their hunger. And that's 14% for our continuing students. So how this information is being used. So our functional areas are gathering this information. So for instance, the 39 new students who responded to the survey, in the first week of their college, they received information, an email from Sarah Whiffen, our AVP of Student Affairs, outlining our student food cupboard, FLCC, which provides household materials and clothing free of cost for students, and information about emergency services. In every category, just about every category, we're pushing customized information to these students. And we're hoping this will provide a higher level of students taking advantage of our resources. Because one of the things I think we know in higher ed in general, but specifically in our population of students, is that sometimes the most needy students don't take advantage of our support services. And that includes academic support services, but also counseling services as well. I want to move on to some of what I think is the most dramatic information. This is COVID impacts, and specifically these questions around mental health and those students who had mental health concerns and received professional help. So out of our continuing students, 60% responded that they had some sort of mental health concerns because of COVID. And out of our new students, 54% responded yes, that they had some mental health concerns because of COVID. There was a follow-up question around, did you seek professional help because of this? And these numbers really astounded me, because I think we're seeing a generation who really there is no taboo around, or very little taboo around mental health, much more so than my particular generation. So we're seeing a large percentage of students who are seeking professional help for mental illness or mental health. So 38% of continuing students sought professional help in the past year because of COVID. 67% of new students sought professional help because of mental health concerns. So I'm going to, in a later slide, provide a deeper dive of some of the services we're providing these students, because I think it's so timely and so relevant, and it's affecting such a large proportion of our students. But I think this is really telling about the profile of our students. In terms of impacts on learning, 53% of continuing students said it impacted their learning, COVID, and 61% of our 61% of our new students said COVID impacted their learning. And again, when we receive this information, these students are now receiving push communications from our ASAP office, our academic support office, specifically around supports, around academic supports. We've done a one-time push to these students, but now we know that we'll be sending these types of push communications on a regular basis throughout the semester and throughout the academic year. Finally, for our continuing students, we wanted to find out how we did last year in terms of supporting them through COVID. And we know we could do a little bit better job. 78% of students said we did a good job supporting them, but 22% said we could have done a better job. So we're going to try to lean in, and hopefully this customized communication to students helps lessen this gap between those students who feel that we're doing a good job in supporting them.
Jonathan, quick question?
Absolutely. Yes.
This is Jeff. Were the students any more specific about not feeling supported? Did they cite specific things?
Yes, there was an opportunity for, in some of the survey response, to provide open-ended response.
Okay,
And I have to say, I did not do a deep dive in terms of that qualitative data. I personally didn't, but those students, but our functional areas did. And from my conversations with Sarah Whiffen, our AVP of Student Affairs, I think most of it is around two things. One is they were simply unhappy with things that are out of our control. So they wanted an in-person experience. So even though that wasn't necessarily in our control, they reported on that. The second was probably the quality of instruction in terms of feedback from faculty, and just the difficulty of learning in an online environment. But they were the two items that I recall from reviewing the survey data.
This is George. I have to say I'm actually surprised that it's as high as it is. Under the circumstances and the adjustments that had to be made in instruction and in support services, I'm surprised that we're almost at 80% satisfaction rate.
mm-hmm.
I was pleased with this number because you know, we often only hear from students who aren't having a positive experience, and we forget that 78% of our students did have a good experience, or at least that's what they reported. In terms of the last category, it's students working while in college. This is pretty similar to our numbers in previous years. It might be a slight uptick. So 71% of our continuing students report that they're working while in college. 69% of our new students. What's telling is the amount of work. So many of these students are full-time students, and 42% of continuing students said they work more than 30 hours a week. And 23% of our new students said that they intend to work more than 30 hours. So we know our students have chaotic lives that are very busy. And I think customizing our communication and really developing robust wraparound services for students that they know how to take advantage of will be really important. Before I talk about timely care and what we're doing to address student mental health concerns, I'll just go back and ask if there's any sort of general survey questions around the data, additional questions. All right, I'm excited to tell you about Timely Care. Timely Care is a telehealth medicine or telehealth provider that FLCC is taking advantage of. And it's really what makes them remarkable in sort of the marketplace is they provide both direct student health and mental health services for students. And it's one of the very few providers that provide both in a comprehensive package. So I wanted to outline some of the services. In terms of medical appointments or medicine, they're scheduled and on-demand access to treat a wide range of common illnesses such as cold and flu. There's also, and students could also use this service to refill, say, prescriptions and that sort of thing, which we know sometimes these very busy students with their very busy lives have a hard time doing. So hopefully we're making access to medical care easier for these students. In terms of mental health and wellness, there's Talk Now, which is an on-demand access to mental health professionals anytime, anywhere, free of charge. They also have an opportunity for scheduled counseling with licensed counselors for mental health support. They have access to 12 appointments per year, which is the industry standard for this type of telehealth. We also have health coaching, which is more of a wellness and lifestyle, sleep issues, study, balance of work-life issues to help students. These are scheduled appointments, and then psychiatry appointments with licensed psychiatrists. And this is really an unusual feature for this type of college telehealth provider. And we do provide this for at least a small percent of our students who need this level of care. We have a whole system or team of people in our community standards and counseling and our student health offices working with this telehealth provider. We have a huge communication campaign out to all students about these services. And we have a faculty member, chef and culinary instructor, Patrick Ray, who is serving as our faculty Telecare, timely care coach. So he's providing opportunities to go into classrooms along with our staff members into classrooms to talk with students and really just be an advocate for this service. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and find out if there's any final questions. Thanks so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Dr. Kaiser. Moving on to resolutions, we have two from Ms. Palawchuk. First is to adjust the Finger Lakes Community College Professional Services position roster, and the second will be to approve Leslie Pierre-Philippe as an administrative appointment. So, Ms. Palawchuk, I'll let you just roll through.
Thank you, Trustee Cushman. The first resolution that you have in your packet is regarding two new titles, and you received those in your packet. The first is for the Coordinator of Viticulture and Wine Technology. This is a full-time position which replaces a previous title. So this is not a new headcount, and the position is budgeted for. Also in the viticulture and wine program, we have a technical specialist title. This is a new full-time title. It is a new position, but it was included in this year's budget. Any questions about either one of these titles, I'm happy to take.
Just one quick question. Do we know the total number of people now that are working in the viticulture program?
I
I'm
don't
just
know
wondering
that
how
off the
well is
top
it
of my
staffed?
head. I can get that number for you, though.
I'm just curious, not a big deal.
We can get that for you. Trustee Cushman, the second resolution, it's actually one that's supposed to be presented by Provost Kaiser, so I'll defer to him on that one. And I apologize for any mistake of that being listed under my name.
No worries. Dr. Kaiser?
Again, it's my pleasure to always recommend strong staff members for administrative appointments. This particular one is for Leslie Pierre Philippe, who completed her 5-year probationary period. Leslie is one of our professional academic advisors. I reviewed her evaluations, her self-evaluations, the supervisor evaluations, the letters of recommendation. Her previous advisor, or I'm sorry, her previous supervisor, described Leslie as always having a student-centered approach, and she notes that a strong belief of hers is to always work with students to make sure that what is in their best interest is paramount in her work and in her thinking. Leslie has done a lot of stuff outside of excelling in her specific job duties. Leslie has attended numerous workshops and conferences to learn how the best practices for being a professional and advisor. She's a member of our K-14 Partnership Committee. And I think recently and most important, she's been nominated and is participating in our PEAKS program, which is our Leadership and Management Development program. By all accounts, Leslie is really excelling in all of these. Leslie is also a recipient of our Distinguished Service and Team Awards. And overall, I'm just absolutely thrilled to recommend, and I fully endorse Leslie for a full administrative appointment. Thank you.
Any questions or comments for Dr. Kaiser?
This is Jeff. Just one quick question, and I fully support the resolution. How did we establish a 5-year probationary period? Is that part of just the SUNY system, or is that part of our contract negotiations? Or?
It's part of our professional association contract.
Okay.
The 5-year probationary period predates my time at FLCC, but I think it has been in place for a number of years.
Okay. 5 years is an extraordinarily long time to be on probation.
I would agree with that.
This is Donna. Somebody correct me if I am wrong here, but it seems to me that the 5-year probationary period may have been a part of the discussion that happened when we agreed to allow tenure for faculty members at FLCC. Carol, you're shaking your head no. Did it happen before that probationary period of 5 years?
The 5-year probationary period has been longstanding under the professional association contract.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification.
You're
Jeff, in secondary school, it's 3 years.
Well, I don't come from the world of education, but if the administrative folks can't figure out after 3 years whether they want to keep somebody or not, then we got a larger problem.
So if I could chime in, I think that there is a connection to the faculty contract here, because any of you who've been around for a while may remember that those 2 bargaining units used to be 1 bargaining unit. And so when it was split, the faculty retained their tenure process in their contract, and in many respects, the professional association built contract provisions in that sort of mirrored what they had when the bargaining units were together. And so that's what you see for the PA contract with this administrative appointment process.
Okay. Sometime when we're in executive session or at a retreat or whatever, this would be a good topic for discussion.
Great, well, thank you. Any other questions? And thank you, Dr. Kaiser and Carol and Michelle, all teaming up to get us an answer. We will vote on these resolutions during the full meeting. Moving on now to the strategic thought presentation, Workforce and Career Solutions Annual Report. Mr. Sloan.
Thank you, Trustee Cushman. Thank you all. It's great to be here. I can't believe it's been a year. Time has done strange things during COVID. We were just talking about that with some of my colleagues today. So I'm thrilled to be here. It's been a very exciting year in Workforce and Career Solutions and exciting in a lot of different ways. I'm going to take a minute. I'm going to share my screen with you all so you can follow along with this evening's presentation. Can you all see that? Give me a couple nods. I only see a few of you. Okay, great. So this is a brief outline of what I prepared for tonight. I want to address some of the performance measures that we currently track in the department, and we have been doing now for about 3 years. So not only do I have this year's measures, but I've added some look back information on the last 2 years. Obviously, the most recent 2 years have not been typical because they've both been impacted by COVID, but I do want to share some of those, I guess, longitudinal information as well. And then I'll talk a little bit about the continuing impact we're seeing from COVID and some of the challenges that that's posing. But there actually are a lot of bright spots. We have learned a lot through the challenge of COVID and adapted, and I think there's quite a bit that we can look forward to in the coming year and beyond. So just a reminder, there are 6 functional areas or program areas that we focus on in Workforce and Career Solutions. Hold on, I'm just gonna make this a little bigger if I can. There, that's probably better, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So the functional areas that we focus on are career pathway programming, which is generally our face-to-face programming that is individual enrollments and provide people with an industry credential or a license or certificate from the state to allow them to enter an in-demand occupation. We also, as you can see from the session graphic here, we do quite a bit of work in customized workforce training. That is training at the work site that the employer pays for to upskill their employees. We also provide professional development training. Professional development training is usually shorter term. It's similar to career path training in that it provides someone with an industry credential or another credential in their field. But the main difference between career path and professional development training is that professional development training is really to help someone advance or move laterally within their existing career path. And our community education programming is primarily housed at our campus centers. It includes some professional development programming that's shorter term in nature and also personal development programming that is of interest to our community members that are local to the campus centers. We also have an online catalog, which is 100% asynchronous, so that's strictly remote learning. And most of that is professional development or personal development programming, but it's strictly online. And then finally, we do testing for our students, our credit students at the college. We do testing for our nursing students or our prospective nursing students who want to get into the program. There's some testing they need to do in order to be assessed for their eligibility. And we also do some equivalency testing that allows people to get credit for prior learning at the college. So the first area we're looking at here is our sessions ran. And this is probably really good news in light of COVID, the fact that we were able to maintain the number of sessions that we ran from last year to this. Obviously, our longer term goal prior to COVID had been where we were looking at hopefully 5% growth a year in these numbers. The primary challenge was in our advanced manufacturing programming. that was completely paused during COVID and still is, because those programs are housed at employers, and those employers literally could not have guests during COVID. But frankly, our healthcare programs have run consistently, and we've actually had no cancellations in those programs, so that's been very strong for us. And we have seen a large growth in our online programming. There's been two real nice successes there. We worked with enrollment management and the marketing team to do a marketing campaign of online learning for professional development, which saw some really good results in terms of enrollment numbers. And then the other thing we did is we worked with our local WIB, and they have now approved quite a few longer term career credential programs that are online, that they are now funding learners for, particularly in areas like the skilled trades. So that was very helpful. That was definitely a shift, but it was helpful that we were able to make that shift. In terms of unique participants,
Could you back up just 1 second?
Absolutely.
I'm a little confused by the percentages. What do they represent?
So, and the pie graph, what you're seeing is this year's distribution of how many sessions we ran in the 6 functional areas I talked about. So you can see 35% of our sessions ran were in online. 32% were in customized workforce.
Okay, because I'm looking at customized workforce and I'm seeing 105.
Oh, I apologize. So I should mention there are updates. Thank you, Trustee Cushman. I updated this and the next 2 slides because we did not have the final numbers for the fiscal year until just last week. And I'll make sure that Penny distributes the updated slides to you all. Thank you for pointing that out. I meant to point it out. I apologize. I completely forgot to mention it. So the totals are accurate and correct. The distribution for these this and the next 2 slides will be shifting. I love the fact that you're looking at it. It's really actually interesting to look at the shifts in the mix from one year to the next. You can see how COVID has impacted this. For example, professional development, much of that was face-to-face. You can see that has shrunk dramatically year over year, whereas online and customized has increased. Other questions or comments? Okay, and that'll follow for these next 2 graphics, Trustee Cushman. They will shift from your pre-meeting packet. We have now here participants by program area. This also had a significant shift in terms of our customized workforce training, and that was very simply we were able to do customized workforce training for incumbents in the workplace because they were able to report to work still, had to report to work still. So we really shifted whenever possible the amount of training, and the group sizes there grew quite a bit. So right now you're looking at unique participants. You'll notice there's a big difference between the online learning when you look at the number of sessions and unique participants. And I just wanted to point that out because that's just an artifact of online. Most online programs are 1, 2, 3 people at a time. So even though there are a lot of sessions, the average number of sessions per number of students per session is smaller. Okay, and then lastly, total clock hours for training, that is up in total, and you can see that's dramatically up because of online, especially those career programs in online that we now can fund through our local web. It's been a tremendous resource for us. They will refer individuals who want to get into a new career, and there's just no face-to-face training available in the last year. So that's been a big boon. Our real goal, I'm just going to go back 2 slides here. The goal here, looking at these numbers, will be to grow these numbers specifically by maintaining all of the gains we've had here in customized workforce, which has always been a strength, and the gains we've had in online through our marketing efforts, and then over the course of next year, begin to grow back the face-to-face career path programming. That has been a bread and butter for us, and it still is, again, in healthcare, but it's advanced manufacturing has almost been absent for the last year. So I feel really good about these numbers. Our team has worked very hard in terms of marketing with our existing programs. We just have not literally had the opportunity to do face-to-face programming in that one sector. So considering that, we're in okay shape given the situation we're in. Questions, comments on any of that to this point?
Before I open it up, one quick question from me.
Sure.
Out of these program areas, are there some that are economically more beneficial to the college than others? Are there any like loss leaders here, or is there a mix as far as how they generate income and cover costs?
Yeah. So the strongest programs are online and the career pathways, followed pretty closely by customized workforce. Those are probably the top three. Customized workforce tends to vary because we have some grants we fund that with that are that don't generate a huge amount of revenue. We pursue them though because they generate new customers for us.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the top three. Community ed is not a loss leader by any means. It's a little less, it generates less revenue and has smaller classes. So that's not a big revenue generator, but frankly, it's really important for bringing traffic into our career centers. And what we've done with those programs is we've simply partnered with enrollment management and with the career center directors to kind of share the work involved with those. And they're not using so many resources that they're pulling away from some of those more profitable programs at this point. But yeah, to answer your question, community ed, we have to be a little careful not to schedule too much there, or it can have an impact. But outside of that, our career programs and our online are pretty profitable.
Great. Thank you. And other trustees, are there any questions for Todd on what's been covered so far?
Okay.
This is Donna.
Oh, yeah.
Hi, Todd. I just
Hi.
wondered how you're building on this, how you're going forward. Are you using any sort of metrics that would tell you where to put your efforts?
Well, the way we're building on this is we're continuing to use the marketing strategies that we discovered worked for online. So when we worked with enrollment management, they were nice enough to fund a sort of a pilot of some different ways to do marketing, and we discovered what generated the best return. So we're continuing that to maintain that volume in online. Customized workforce, we have actually pursued and received the grants that fund that training. And I'm pleased to say we've actually just in the last week, we got news that all of those renewals have been approved. So that's what we're looking at there. In the area of career pathways, we kind of knew it was a weakness that in advanced manufacturing, our trainings were located at employers. We didn't know COVID was coming, right? But we knew that, gee, if an employer they needed to put our training room into production again, we were kind of at their whim. So what we've done during COVID is we've taken the advanced manufacturing programs and made them hybrid programs that are portable. So now those can be offered at a campus center. They could still be offered at an employer or our main campus. Frankly, they could be offered anywhere in the community with a good internet connection. Now, we don't know yet how successful that's going to be, I'm extremely hopeful. I think it was a smart strategy before COVID, to be honest with you. But really, our first advanced manufacturing face-to-face training is being marketed now for January. So the proof will be in the pudding, but that's how we've positioned ourselves. I think that portability and use of our leadership in hybrid is going to be the key to our success going forward, particularly with that sector. Does that answer your question?
Sorry, yes, very much. Thank you. I was also curious if we are, if there is time available at this point to continue the credentialing that would then lead to possible degrees.
Yes. So that is actually the 2 advanced manufacturing programs that I mentioned that we've developed as hybrid programs during COVID. One of those will award 12 credits, and those 12 credits will provide advanced standing into our smart systems technology degree. So that's a very intentional strategy. I'm so glad you brought it up because I shouldn't have been remiss in missing it. It's a huge strategy, and it was quite a bit of work, but we do now have that pathway that includes industry credentials up to 12 credits and then advanced standing towards a complete degree from there.
Excellent. I think that was what I was waiting to hear. Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure thing. This slide just briefly this is important because this is a key measure of our operational efficiency. In credit courses, one of the important measures is sort of enrollment rates, how full our classes. But in workforce, since our classes are essentially cash programs, all of our classes, we don't run them unless we have enough enrollment to be profitable. So for us, a measure of run rates is a really key measure of our efficiency. So run rates is just very simply, if we look at all of the classes we scheduled, how many ran, how many at least had their minimum enrollment. And this has been a goal of ours for 3 years. And obviously, you know, the numbers can't really get any better than this. We've seen those increase significantly in the last 3 years. Despite COVID, we didn't have any of our classes that did not run in the last year. And that is 100% due to the hustle of my team. They just worked so hard to get out there and enroll students in those classes. So this is important. Just again, this is not so much about overall numbers as it is about efficiency of the time and resources we have. So looking forward, here are a couple very honest challenges we're going to face. I think the number one challenge our department will face post-COVID is the slow return of face-to-face learners. And this is not just local. You know, I talk to my peers. This is the case. And in any, you know, if you read in the journals of workforce development, economic development, employment, for some reason, I shouldn't say for some reason, but what we're seeing is that people who became unemployed during COVID, even with them going off of unemployment or their benefits being reduced, there is not a rush to return to work. So you add to that the fact that our advanced manufacturing specifically and our ABE programs, those face-to-face programs have been paused for about 18 months. And again, I'm not being doom and gloom here, but I think the reality is we almost have to think of it as restarting those programs. So obviously that's going to be a big focus. The goal will be to maintain the gains we've had in online and customized so we don't move backwards. But I think it's going to be a build back slowly process for some of those face-to-face programs. I really do. I think that's probably our number one challenge we'll be facing in the next year. I should mention too, I've been talking about 6 functional areas, but one of the changes in the last year is that adult basic education did become a part of workforce and career solutions, became a part of that department. So, and the reason I mention them is because we saw great success As Dr. Abatis mentioned earlier, we saw great success in those programs. We had our largest graduating class for task. As far as we can tell in the history of the college, we had about 131 graduates this spring. And that was largely due to New York State lifting their requirement that ABE classes have to be face-to-face. They waived that requirement, and we saw a lot of students, frankly, for whom transportation was more of a barrier than online access. So we did participate in a pilot program this spring for distance learning with New York State. The bad news is New York State is likely to go back to requiring distance learning post-COVID. The good news is we're hearing from them, and we're thinking through the pilot that we participated in that they are likely going to allow distance learning again sometime in the future. So it's with adult basic education, similar to advanced manufacturing, it's going to be kind of a tricky year because we may have a temporary period of time where we're doing face-to-face only, and we're going to hurt a little bit for numbers. But as soon as distance learning is permanently allowed, it's going to be just tremendous for the college and for the community because it'll give learners those options. So our primary focus for really for the next year will be marketing those face-to-face programs and doing marketing and outreach and pursuing funding that will specifically provide tuition assistance to non-credit students. We think that's probably for our career pathway area that I've been kind of focusing on the challenge tonight, but for that area, we think the way to bring some of those students back will be to provide them full or primarily or full or 50% or greater tuition assistance. So we have had a very good area for funding. I'm gonna not go into details on this slide because you have this with you already, but we have actually applied for 11 grants in the last year. We've been awarded 8 of them. 1 is pending and 2 were declined. I've been doing grant writing and administration for probably 15, close to 20 years. I'm very comfortable with 8 out of 11 when it comes to writing grants. So we've been really strategic. These are not large grants at an institutional level, but they completely align with our strategic plan and with kind of the vision for workforce that Dr. Nye and Dr. Kaiser have been pushing and moving forward on. And I think that's been the key. We can easily write for these and just show how they align with a strategic plan, and they've been almost natural fits. So it's been really, really exciting. A couple updates, just so you're aware, these are kind of follow-up items to what we discussed before. The healthcare career lattice that we developed about 2 years ago, which identified the in-demand healthcare occupations in our region that allow for advancement and lateral transfers within the sectors. We are now in a position we can say we have 5 of the 7 of those occupations we have programs in at the college. So, and I expect the other 2, 1 clinical medical assistant, we will probably roll out next calendar year. We may wait on that depending on what happens with employment. And the other is LPN, which the college is looking at developing a credit program in that. I believe, I don't want to speak for Dr. Kaiser, but I believe after the Allied Health Center is developed, we're looking at building a bridge program there. And then Trustee Mihalik, this is our advanced manufacturing items that I talked about earlier. The foundations in advanced manufacturing is the 12 credit program that bridges into the SST program. Another really cool development, we are working with a national company that is very much ahead of the curve in terms of virtual reality in advanced manufacturing. And we are now piloting, we have a set of 5 virtual reality headsets that will allow our advanced manufacturing students to literally step into a virtual shop and practice. Again, making us portable and making us less dependent on having to go into a physical shop for that work. Our IT department, computer science department, is partnering with us on a new series of courses from Amazon Web Services. This will be a co-seated program. So what it means is these courses will be available to degree-seeking students, but also to professionals who are already working in the field who may already have a master's or a bachelor's degree. And hopefully the goal there will be to increase our run rates for both workforce and the credit side by pooling those students into one section. And you know, there's no time on this agenda, but I'm almost done, folks. I hope you find this as exciting as I do. Maybe you won't find it as exciting as I do, but I hope it's interesting anyway. We've been working really, again, with enrollment management, with Dr. Avedis's division, with several employers. Again, this is also a kind of a vision that Dr. Nye has had on what we're calling a workplace university model. And this is where we would stand up something, and I'm gonna use an example. It's not necessarily one that will happen, but we might stand up something called IEC University. And that will literally be a set of courses designed for employees of IEC and their families. It could include personal and professional development for their families that would be housed wherever they want to house it. So for example, for IEC, they might do the technical training for IEC University at their facility where they have the equipment. They might do the transferable skills training or the computer training at the Newark Campus Center. But it would literally be a suite of courses that develops advancement pathways for their employees to help them retain and advance their employees that we would provide. So it's a true partnership with the college and the employer that is housed, you might say, specific to them.
Hey, Todd.
Yes.
Rob, real quick.
Yep.
That's real. That what y'all are doing between you and Carol is awesome, and it is IEC in Newark. What I wanted to highlight for you is just so that if we can get there, is when we get this going, is their New Mexico location, which has more employees than they have at their Newark location. In terms of when you say IEC University, IEC is not just in Newark. So there's some wonderful possibilities here based on the great work that Todd and Carol have been doing. So I just wanted to tell about how far their expansion is, and it's not just in Newark. Thanks, Todd.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, and hybrid learning is built into just about everything I've talked about tonight. We are, in my department and the college as a whole, we are all in on hybrid. It allows people to attend in person. It allows them to attend locally, remotely, or it allows them to attend anywhere. So thank you, Dr. Nye. I think just to wrap up, this is kind of where what we're looking at for the next year. You know, building on our strengths. This programming in this department is very strong. Our completion rates and certification rates and employment rates, those are the big three in workforce, and we are as good as anyone. Some of these are close to 100%. And that's always been a strength. We've maintained it. Again, in the coming year, I think it's just going to take some time to build back our face-to-face offerings. We'll do it, but it's not going to be a quick and easy one. So we're gonna focus on maintaining our strengths where we've adapted during COVID, growing back the open enrollment programs, and being a little more judicious. I don't want to say judicious, but really focusing on funding that goes to direct tuition. We don't necessarily need a lot of funding for curriculum development. Never hurts, but we've got great curriculum. Now it's time to market it and to make it easy for students and prospective students to say yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Are there any questions? Comments?
Dr. Abraham, I have a comment actually. Todd, when you mentioned AWS, the program on Academy, I'll be transparent with you. I had to look it up. I was just in a conference at work where the keynote speaker was from AWS. So I had to look it up, and it looks like a really neat program. The board, I'll send you a link just to give you some information on what that is. So that's pretty exciting stuff. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, kudos to our computer science department and online learning folks too for bringing that to the college. We'll be one of the first in the area to offer it.
Todd, just really quick, this is Jonathan. What's the starting salary in the area for someone with a full AWS certification?
He threw me a softball there. There's no question about it. I'm always hesitant on this because it's hard to believe, but it's about $85,000.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's,
Yeah, in our region, 85,000, and if you go into the Rochester area or the statewide level, it gets into six figures.
Should support a family.
That is above the sustainable wage in the Finger Lakes area, yes.
Great news. Other questions or comments for?
Looks like Trustee Mihalik.
Yes, George, thanks. I just wanted to congratulate you on, again, the incredible leapfrogging that your department has done and in collaboration with other departments of the college over the last few years. I think that this, we seem to be perhaps at the forefront of a lot of this. And I think as we move forward, from what I hear at the statewide level, there is more and more focus on this area. And I think we're in pretty good shape thanks to the efforts that you folks have made. So thank you.
Thank you. I'll pass that on to our team.
I'll just second what Donna said, and that a lot of the funding looks like that it'll be coming through the Employment and Training Administration at the Department of Labor, going to states is going up, and a lot of it they're also looking for building credit pathways as well. So that's all very exciting. So things are not only portable but stackable.
Excellent. Thank you.
Are there any other questions, comments? Well, we appreciate the presentation. It's excellent work, and we're very excited about to see what you come back with next year.
All right. Thank you all.
So with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
Dante Abraham, so moved.
This is Joan, second.
Thank you, Joan. All in favor of adjourning? Aye.
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 All right, thank you. I will cede the floor to my colleague, Trustee Cass.
So Trustee Cass is not with us today. But stepping in as chair of the committee today will be Trustee Russell. So Trustee Russell.
Trustee Russell.
Thank you very much, Steve. Yes, I'll facilitate the agenda today, and the first thing we'll do is review the committee minutes from September 1st. Can everybody hear me? Anybody hear me? Great, thank you. Are there any questions or comments for the minutes from September 1? If not, let's move on, and our next agenda item is the 2021 operating budget update and finance report. And Adam, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much, Trustee Russell. I'm going to share my screen for the monthly report. Getting there. There we go. As you can see, the report is for the completed fiscal year ending August 31st, 2021. We'd like to state some observations regarding this particular year-end report. First, for fiscal year 2021, this was an anomaly year. It's difficult to benchmark against previous years, especially fiscal year 19-20, as there were significant changes to operations due to the pandemic. Additionally, when this budget was developed, there was no indication of a pandemic, as budget development occurred roughly between November 2019 and March of 2020. Second, there is a resolution tonight to increase the operating budget a second time. Third, if you count the grant increase amendment in September, however, grant tracking is not reflective in this report. The current budget expenditures are reflective of the Board of Trustees approved budget from August of 2021. Because the budget amendment resolution for tonight is not yet approved, the percentage of budget year end is not reflective of final numbers. Once the Board of Trustees approves the budget amendment, we will update the final 2021 operating budget revenue and expense comparison report. And finally, our FLCC controller is still processing year-end closing entries, including but not limited to salary accruals, compensated absent accruals, deferred revenue, and bad debt. These entries will increase the year-to-date expenses. Once these entries are complete, the 2021 operating budget revenue and expense comparison report will be complete and accurate. Our controller has a longer window to complete these tasks, as she is currently completing duties and responsibilities of 3 roles within her department, as there are 2 crucial vacancies in the controller's office. Now, you notice the year-end to date revenue has exceeded budget. Obviously, this is great news, especially when you look at tuition revenue. It was budgeted relatively flat from the previous year, with reduced projected FTEs and an increase in tuition rates and state aid. And as a reminder, state aid was budgeted at roughly 20% decrease over the previous year due to anticipated SUNY reductions. However, actual state aid received was only reduced by about 4.5% over the previous year. Couple that with the help of federal stimulus funding, our overall revenue for 2021 helped FLCC stabilize operations in a time of uncertainty. So some final words as I continue to learn and get more into details for our budget. I'll be creating more financial reporting that will provide better insight into our fiscal health. Some of the reports I'll be working on are an updated Board of Trustees monthly comparison report. I'd like to create reports that have a little bit more breakdown of FLCC expenses, as well as capturing our grant activity. Financial reports showing how the federal stimulus funding has supported FLCC operations over the past fiscal year, and how FLCC has leveraged those funds to provide financial stability. Also providing regularly, either monthly or twice monthly, a financial report on our federalist funding expenses. And lastly, a 3-year budget projection, which will help FLCC better understand fiscal needs and priorities as we strategically plan for our future. And with that, that concludes my report.
Do we have questions for Adam? Okay. Thank you, Adam. Let's move on. Kathy Ahern's got the facilities update for us.
Thank you. Everybody hear me? Good? Okay, great. Thank you. I'll start with nursing. The last time I presented in August, we were just finishing the project, and we have that phase 1, which was the major renovation of the nursing suite in the adjacent area, which massage therapy was in. Classes started on August 31st, and we completed it on August 31st. So we did hit it, and nursing has worked with us. We were doing punch list items during their first week of classes. But we have worked through that. So that phase is complete. As I say, they're holding classes and doing practices in all of the bays. But what's interesting is we're still waiting, believe it or not, for doors. We're at least 16 weeks out. So we had some temporary doors. We're finally getting the new doors, and then monitors. We do not have all of the large 84 or 85 or 55-inch screens. Actually, the monitors are there, but the technology isn't there. So they're waiting for transmitters or something. So I'm hoping by the end of this month, all of those items that have been delayed will be installed. If you go out back, where the old O building was, or the blue building, the temporary building is forever, you will see a lot of construction. That is phase 2. That is that whole floor expansion and 4th floor. We've completed pouring all of the walls and the elevator shaft. We had a coordination meeting today. Steel will be arriving on October 25th, and we anticipate about 4 weeks of the steel erection. We will then get the roof on it, and our goal is to try to enclose that structure. We were hoping by Thanksgiving when I wrote this update. Today, reality is it's probably middle of December, which is a challenge to all of the workers, especially with all the work that needs to happen inside. We're pushing it, and we'll see what happens if we can get that steel erected a little sooner. The other good news with nursing, and I am sure that Lewis has already shared and or Deborah has shared, the SUNY 2020 Workforce Development Grant. That's the $1.5 million grant that was associated with the Flex Lab, associated with the nursing expansion. This is through SUNY. Christine and I did talk with SUNY to better understand how that money comes in, and SUNY is treating it very much like a capital improvement project, which is how we get all of our funding. We have, in fact, today, excuse me, I did get a proposal to take that concept and really develop it to a point to get some construction dollars. Our original estimate when we had the concept plan that went with the grant was about 1.6 million. And that was hoping that we would get the grant when we were in this phase that we're talking about now. Good news is we got the grant. The bad news is it's a little too late. So we now have to go into the design phase, very similar to what we do with all capital projects. We will do the design phase. We'll get some cost estimates. And reality is, I think that addition, that Flex Lab will probably be summer of 2023. I would love to tell you it could be sooner, but we really want to develop that and get the programming, get the buy-in with Provost Kaiser and his team to make sure the faculty is happy with what we have developed. So once I get the design team started, which I hope actually in November, we'll have some programming meetings similar to what we did with nursing. The other part of the nursing project is the Wellness Center. The Wellness Center, which is up in the old marketing area, is complete. People are in there, and I think they're pretty happy with what they have. But if we remember that Wellness Center, also student health will be moving into that, and their space is ready. We're waiting for some equipment. The exam tables should be coming, and we don't have moving in them until winter just because of the logistics. And for the students, I don't want to do it in the middle. So we'll be working with actually very soon to get that move happening in the December break after fall semester. And then of course, HoloLens. Professor Parker is awesome. She is working through whatever we have given her, which really the HoloLens, all of that is done with the exception. We have 5 monitors that need to be installed. She has lockers, she has new HoloLenses, she has a funky carpet that fits with the colors and the distractions and everything that she needs for the lenses to find a datum. She has blackout shades, so it has worked really well. And when we get those monitors up, I would assume that she'll have to reprogram everything for spring semester. Any questions about nursing before I go to 2 other projects?
Questions? I have just one comment, and I got a behind the scenes look at what's going on in the newly updated area, and it is fantastic. There are a lot of very excited people who are now able to work in a state-of-the-art area. So congratulations to getting us up and running for the new year.
That's great. Took lots of us, that's for sure. The next project, we talked about this a little bit this summer, and it was kind of start and stop, but we finally are moving forward. We had an electrical infrastructure project a few years ago to look at the 2014 master plan and all of the things that need to happen in our building pertaining to electrical infrastructure. It's not pretty, but it's got to be done. So we have a 5-year plan. The first year is 2022. We do have the funding in the capital project. So the year 1, we just need to do some final designs and get that out to bid. So this summer, we will be doing some electrical infrastructure, and that's the main emergency power panels, which are very important. So there'll be some shutdowns and coordination, but I'm really pushing to try to get that done. And then finally, master plan. We talked about that. We do have the funding. We had a meeting, Adam, myself, and Tom Harvey last week. I'm about 95% done with the RFP that will go out to the design community. We do have a steering committee selected, and Adam is getting blessing, I think, on that for final. But our hope is to get that RFP out and get a design firm in here before the end of the year. And then that will start a very long project, but we're looking at the next 5 years. It was titled 2019 Master Plan with a SUNY funding, so I'm going to be changing it to 2021 just because of life. But we do need that because we really need that roadmap pertaining to the next 5 years in capital funding and what needs to happen. And one of the things we're spending time on is not only main campus, but the extension centers that were really not touched in 2014. And we're also going to be looking at the foundation and the association, the suites and childcare, just to get an assessment and some recommendations associated with future planning. And SUNY is happy that we're doing that, and really it is a part of the FLCC community, and it'd be great to be included in that. And then lastly, EV stations. I talked about that this summer, on again, off again, and I apologize for that, but we needed to get not only one company, we needed another company, and the funding has been interesting. At one point in time, the stations were the only thing that we'd be getting a rebate for. Now the utility companies are saying, we have money, we will pay to get the utility to the EV stations, which is the major cost to run the power to those stations. So now we are working with EV Solutions, I believe is their name. They're a local company out of Rochester. We have selected locations. It was myself, electrical contractors, along with our electrician. And right now we're going through an application process, and it has to go through the county. So Tom Harvey, myself, and the consultant that's working with our meeting tomorrow, because of course the applications are due by the end of the month. So we need to get those in, but I'm feeling pretty good that we can at least get them in and start doing some construction next spring, if not before. We're looking at G-Lot, which is CMAQ. CMAQ will have a total of 2 areas of 12 or 24 stations. A-Lot will have 12 and D-Lot will have 12, at least to start. So that we're excited about that. And then operations, not really, I just sharing information with the, with early retirements along with retrenchment. We had lost some staff, and I know that we've talked about that. We did get approval for 2 cleaning positions and a laborer in our cleaning area. The laborer, we have a great young man who started about 4 weeks ago. He's going through 2 weeks with each group, and he's been a huge plus for us. We had a cleaner who started in September, and unfortunately he didn't last too long, so he's gone. So that position is open. And then we have a new cleaner that just started yesterday, and we're feeling pretty good about him. And with grounds, we have FTEs open. We had an interview today. It was an interview that, FYI, we had done with a young man just before COVID, then everything stopped. The young man has waited patiently, and we interviewed him again, and we're going to offer him a position. And it's he was really excited before, and then it just life happened. So hopefully we can get through that and the background check, et cetera. So hopefully that one full-time will be filled very soon. Any questions for me? And Adam, if I forgot something, just let me know. I got a thumbs up. Okay, that's good.
Okay, final questions? Hearing none. Thank you, Kathy. Let's move on to resolutions. And the first one up is the amendment to the operating budget that Adam had talked about earlier. Adam, would you present that for us?
Yeah, so in front of you is the memo and the operating budget amendment. It's to adjust the college operating budget from the previously approved amount of $44,566,085 to $48,066,085. This is a $3.5 million increase over the previous approved budget. That increase is in relation to our increased expenses due to the federal stimulus funding and the larger expenses associated with that. Again, these were kind of an unforeseen and anomaly year where revenue streams were a little unknown at the time. And since we've gotten these revenue streams, mostly the federal stimulus funds have created a larger expense pool in that as well. So this is a final budget adjustment. We have put a slight cushion in there with a $3.5 million so that We do not go over that when we finalize all of our expenses, such as all the year-end closing entries that I noted before that the controller is working on. So this will be the final budget amendment, and once it goes through here, it will be submitted through SUNY so that they can provide their final year-end reporting through all the community colleges.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Adam on that resolution? Seeing none, let's move on. And the next three are for Michelle to address with us, and those are contract extensions. So please take that away, Michelle.
Thank you very much. The first resolution that you have in your packet there is to approve a rollover agreement between Ontario County, FLCC, and the Teaching Faculty Alliance. The board has already electronically approved this, and this resolution is formal approval of what you've already electronically approved. Any questions about that one? If not, I'll move on to the rollover for grade, which, as you know, is our union for our adjunct instructors. This is very similar to the rollover agreements that you've already approved for our other bargaining units. It's a 1-year rollover, and the original tentative agreement is on file with both myself and the first assistant Ontario County attorney. Any questions about this one? Okay. And the final resolution that you have in your packet is to approve the revised management confidential salary schedule. It adds additional cost of living adjustment of 0.25%, and that aligns with the negotiated salary increases that have been approved for the bargaining units within these rollover agreements. Any questions about the revised management confidential schedule? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Those resolutions will then show up again on the consent agenda for the full board meeting. Next up is informational items, and I must say that I'm terribly excited to see we have a snow removal contract coming along, and Adam, would you like to update us on that?
Yeah, so this is the bid acceptance form for bid number B1074. This is for True Lawn Care out of Geneva, and they were the sole responsive and bidder for this bid at a price of $1,603 per month for a total of $9,618. This is for the Viticulture Center, and a total of, or $5,696 per month for a total of $34,176 for the Geneva Campus Center. These are seasonal costs not to exceed $43,794. And that's the bid acceptance forms for this one.
That's exciting. Let's move on to budget transfers and not talk about snow for a while.
Yeah, there's just two entries here for budget transfers. One to cover utilities and the other to cover contracted services within the administrative staffing positions.
Okay, any final questions then for Adam on those informational points? If not, I will accept a motion for adjournment. Nobody wants to adjourn? Oh, come on. Don't be shy.
I was stuck on mute. I'll move for you.
Thank you very much, George. Second by, oh, we'll let Jeff second that. All in favor? Aye. We stand in adjournment. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Russell. Appreciate it. As we can all see, it's 5:50, and our meeting is not scheduled to begin until 6:45 p.m. So we're going to be taking a full 55-minute break here we're not able to start before 6:45 p.m. because that is a publicly posted time. So go ahead and get a full dinner, get your exercises in, enjoy yourself. We'll see everyone at 6:45. Thank you. Sometimes it happens that way. We have a big gap.
Well, it does, but it doesn't. I mean, when we were in person, we just went to continue on because you were here in person for the meeting. But that's a different animal to deal with.
Since we publicly posted, how does this affect your schedule, Sophie? Are you able to stay with us?
Yeah. Thank you.
And is your last name pronounced Partial?
Partial.
Partial. Do you have any relatives in the Honeoye, Bristol area?
Oh,
My grandparents live in Honeoye.
Yes.
Yeah. Wait, really?
I'm from Honeoye, Honeoye Lake.
Yeah. Yeah, they live right
Remind
on
me
the
of your grandparents' name. Is there a George in there?
No, Jim
okay,
and Andrea.
thanks. I'll take care of it right now.
Jamie Partial, that's right.
Mhm.
Are they still there in Honeoye?
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Rob, are you putting it on mute?
Yep.
Okay, good.
They're still there in Honeoye?
Yeah, they're still there. Cute little cottage. I
On the east or west side?
think the east side, I'm pretty sure.
That's great, yes. Yeah, I recall that. I recall that. I went to school there. My parents lived there.
No, I am. So the new lab is really amazing.
Fantastic.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing.
So Trustee Provost, guys will be introducing you. We're also going to give you a chance to say your own. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay.
Board meeting, you'll see.
No, mute.
Ready?
No, mute. Stop video, share keypad, react, leave meeting. There. Is that what?
Live and learn. Yeah. And we make it better next time.
See, right, maybe it starts directly after finance.
Good. That'd be perfect. Hello? Hey, I tried. Yeah, no problem. I was just trying to call and say, hey, can you hear us now or not? I figured out how to put it on mute. They don't have it as a symbol. And it's this little other sub button that you push for volume, and if you push it all the way down, it goes mute. So it worked afterwards. That's all I was trying to do, is say, can you still hear? That's it.
Yeah, it must be muted now, because I ran to the restroom after you and I hung up the first time, and then when I came back, I noticed that you couldn't hear anything anymore. So.
That's good. It's good. Hey, really good answer. Appreciate it on that stuff with the hiring. I'd seen some. I'd seen it before, but it's like, okay, where is this where I can find it all the time? But I did, just for a comment. You take this for a comment. If I were somebody like a faculty member
Unmute.
we establish a 5-year probationary period? Is that part of just the SUNY system, or is that part of our contract negotiations? It's part of our
Is Jeff, hi, this is Santa. Is Jeff around?
I think people are starting to come back in.
Hey, Jeff.
Hi, Santa.
What about those Yankees?
Yes, I hate the Yankees.
Oh, that was sad. I
I've
don't,
had
I
this.
don't, I don't think the Red Sox are gonna go that far,
No,
personally.
I don't either.
No. No.
It's a good. I always had the attitude it's a good postseason as long as the Yankees aren't in it. It's been that way since I was about, I don't know, 5 years old.
Oh yeah, who's your team?
Oh, I used to like the Cardinals a lot.
Okay.
You know,
I
I
thought you
follow.
were a Yankees fan. That's why I brought it up. I really thought you were a Yankees fan.
No, well, I just loved baseball. I lived for it for 10 years between the ages of 5 and maybe 15 or 16. And that was the 10 years that they had their great run and, you know, won a whole bunch of World Series and I used to just get so wrapped up in it as a kid.
Okay.
So
No, yeah. No, I really thought you were. That's why I brought it up.
yeah, I'm a lot older now and a little calmer, but I still don't root for them.
Okay. All right.
Green light. Now they can hear us.
All right. Are you gonna
Hi,
replace me?
George. Donna.
You gonna take my job?
No,
I don't want your job.
no. Are you sure?
I'm sure I don't want your job.
All right.
We'll keep it this way.
I will just say, thank you. I appreciate
You're
your
welcome.
job.
Hi, Rich.
All right, I'll just make sure it's going and I'll leave.
Welcome back, everybody. Again, the whisper is back. Sorry about this. So we'll call to order the Board of Trustees meeting of Finger Lakes Community College of October 6, 2021. And before we begin our oath of office, we'd like to give Dr. Kaiser an opportunity to introduce our new student trustee and tell us a little bit about our student trustee. So, Dr. Kaiser, would you please take it away? Dr. Kaiser, are you with us? Mute. George, can you hear me?
No.
George, can you hear me?
Oh, I'm sorry, was that George?
Yes, George.
I'm so sorry, Steve.
Yes.
I've got the volume turned all the way up.
I can. Okay. I should introduce Sophie.
Yep.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I would like to introduce Sophie Parshell as our new student trustee. I am very excited to introduce Sophie. Sophie, if you could give us a wave. I want to say that Sophie is a nursing major. She's off to a great start. She has a great connection to FLCC already. Her sister is a nursing alumni from our program. She has
Great.
already accumulated 56 credits as an early college scholar. She works in our science incubator, which is our science tutoring lab. She provides admissions tours for our potential students for our admissions office, and she's part of our COVID testing team. So when I was talking to her about this position, she said FLCC already feels like her family. And I could understand why. And what she was most excited about is to meet new people and to work closely with the people that she already knows. Now, she did have a couple of worries. She was worried that the formality of being part of a board of trustees, a board, would be new to her, and she was a little worried about her expectations, but I assured her that we are a welcoming and mentoring group. So Sophie, thank you for joining us as our new FLCC student trustee.
Sophie, my name is Joan Geis, and I'm going to be your mentor. And I will be getting a hold of you in the next couple of days to chat. So you can rest assured, we are a welcoming group.
Great, that's great. Thank you, Joan. Yes. So if you could come around here, we need to actually administer the oath of office to you. That way you're front and center. Look right at the camera right there. You can just raise your right hand and repeat after me. Sophie Marshall do solemnly swear
I, Sophie Partial, do solemnly swear
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
that I will faithfully discharge, according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
the duties of the position of trustee.
the duties of the position of trustee.
Thank you. That's great.
Okay.
We have one other office to administer. Thanks to our very own Jeff Hastles, who has been unanimously by the Board of Trustees for another term. Rich, you did approve, right? You did say yes, right, Rich? Okay, good. Are you on screen? Jeff Hastles, are you with us? Jeff Hastles, I apologize.
I'm here, Steve. I do solemnly swear to support
Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the United States of America,
Constitution of the State of New York,
the Constitution of the State of New York,
and discharge
and discharge my duties to the best of my ability
the position of trustee.
in the position of trustee.
I apologize, everyone.
No, it's all right. Thank you.
Let's see. We also need to get a motion in a second to approve the amended 2021 meeting calendar. Motion in a second, please, for the new 2021 which we have in our packet. Please, a motion in a second.
This is Salt Abraham. I motion to approve the 2021-2022 meeting calendar.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Jeff. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstentions? Okay, this is our opportunity to get any input. If anyone would like to share their thoughts publicly, please do so. We would like to call on John Taylor. John, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. You might share a few words.
This is John Taylor. I would like to say a few words, please. Thank you. I'd ask Mike Best to turn on his video. Mike, are you there? There he is. Hey, Mike. For those of you that aren't aware, IT staff and Apple technology specialist Mike Best has accepted a position at St. John Fisher College in their IT department starting later this month. And I know you all on the board know Mike
Please.
very well. He's been so instrumental in supporting the Board of Trustees with the iPads and also with our tech support for the board meetings.
Yeah.
Mike started here as a student quite a long time ago at FLCC and was working full-time in IT when I created the Apple Technology Specialist position in 2015, and he was a great, perfect fit for that. And through his great work, we've built our Apple presence and platform to the excellent level it is at today. You may not remember this, but in March 2020, we had our last full in-person Board of Trustees meeting at the Victor campus. Starting in April 2020, actually it was April 1st, April Fool's Day, 2020, we had our first Board of Trustees WebEx meeting. That was 18 months ago. And Mike's been there with all of you and with all of us the whole time, working through issues, training, and making sure things go smoothly. Please join me in thanking Mike for his great work here at FLCC and congratulating him as he moves on to his new job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will miss you, Mike.
Yeah.
I miss you guys too. You
Thanks
know,
for everything, Mike.
I
Wish you the
Thanks for
best.
everything.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Mike, will you come back like John Taylor did in 10 years?
I'll talk to you offline about something that you mentioned a couple of years ago. Yeah, we'll see. Who knows what the future holds? That's all I can say.
Great.
Thank you, guys.
Really appreciate it. We're going to move to the consent agenda on the resolutions. And Trustee asked us, we have an amendment here with the agenda that includes the Sands Family Foundation and the nomination of them for NYCCD. I think you wanted to say a word and you wanted to motion this, so Trustee asked if you might take it away.
Steve, this is George. I wasn't able to pick up the last part of it. I'm sorry.
Okay. I was paying attention to something. You talking about the.
Trustees asked us to actually talk about the Sands Family Foundation.
Oh, Jeff, what is being asked is to talk about the resolution to nominate the Sands family for the NYCCT
Oh.
award.
Okay, thanks very much. I think we've all seen the draft of the resolution. Just a couple comments. One is it was really well written, and I'm glad that it included the kind of the history of the Sands Family and Foundation's involvement with the college, as well as the most recent involvement with the nursing facility expansion. As most of you know, they've been involved in the college for a very long time. And not only with the nursing program, but certainly with CMAC, which at the time, if most of you recall, was the old facility was really struggling to stay in the market and to attract events at all. And there was a very serious concern that if it went dark for even 1 year, that it just would never reopen. And so I worked, and I know the college at the time worked with both Richard Sands and Jenny Clark to come up with a way to build it into what it is today. Same's been true with the nursing program, and the college has received substantial benefits over the years from their relationship with the Sands family. So I appreciate your responding to my request, and I would like to offer that resolution to nominate them for the award at the NYCCT.
That as an amended item for the amended agenda.
We'll include that as an additional item in the amended agenda.
Okay.
We need a second for that nomination, please.
This is George.
Second.
Donna, can you please provide some information about the specific award that the Sands family will provide? It's the highest that a non-trustee can get within the system.
Yes. So I was going to have this in my report, but we can do this now. The Friends of Community College Award is somewhat, I would say, relatively new within the last maybe 10 years or so. Don't quote me on that. But it was designed for individuals or organizations that went above and beyond the normal philanthropic, I put that in quotes because there are a lot of outstanding philanthropic contributors to community colleges across the state. And it was the history, the legacy of the Sands Foundation, I believe, that the committee, I'm sorry that Don Cass is not here. He could speak from the committee's perspective. I feel a little biased as the chair of the committee, but the I will remain silent during this particular vote. But the committee felt that the Sands Foundation and Richard and Robert Sands had gone sort of above and beyond the philanthropic aspect of supporting community colleges because of their support of so many different areas of the college. As we know, it was a big deal when they gave us $1 million back in the day for the student center, and now for this enormous $3 million nursing program. But they also take in our student interns at CMAC. They sponsor the scholarship dinner. They have been a major sponsor of our Vintners and Valentine's event. They have been supportive, I think, for so long in so many different areas that the Friend of Community College Award seemed more appropriate than the, again, quote unquote, standard philanthropic awards that NYCCT confirms. So I think that was, it says a lot about the college's nomination. And it was exciting to see them all agree that this was a sort of a unique organization.
We have a motion and a second. We're now looking for all in favor.
We have a motion and a second. We're now looking for all in favor. Say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Abstentions.
Abstentions?
Carried.
Carried.
Any old business? Any old business?
No old business from here. Any old business, folks?
No chair's report. Look under the president's report.
And I just lost it. Give me a second here. I'd just like to start off first with, I sent a note to the Board of Trustees earlier today that had the end results of our mandatory vaccination efforts. And I have to tell you that this was another Herculean effort by a number of people to bring us up to where we had 1,941 students that needed to have vaccinations for some sort of face-to-face courses. And as of today, we're down to only 2 students that we have had that were able to enroll. It's phenomenal. The effort that folks led by Sarah Whiffen, Janetta Ruck, and Deborah Ortloff in the lead has been absolutely tremendous. And actually, it has been ultimately time consuming and they need some time off. So I'll be talking to them about that. But absolutely wonderful job, not only by them, but so many staff members and faculty members. This is also a faculty-led effort to have the faculty members talk to the students and say, hey, this is important. This was a total college team effort. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who had to help do that. When you put it in perspective, as of today, we learned there's still 3,800 SUNY students that were going to be disenrolled because of not being able to meet the vaccination mandates. A week and a half ago, that was 28,000. So we still have some work to go. We have students that have their first vaccination. We're still working through a couple of religious exemptions, but absolutely Herculean effort and team effort. So thank you to everyone. I want to highlight a couple of things really quickly. We just talked about the Sands family and the CMAC, and I wanted to highlight one of the things in my report, and it's rather mundane, but it's a sidewalk from the 364 from the G-Lot entrance up to 5 and 20. With the bridge, it's going to be built to provide greater access for concert goers to be able to move them and move into and out of the CMAC. But it also helps our students to give another greater access point for our students to get to and from our college. The Sands family are donating about $350,000. That is, when you talk about team efforts, then it's being put into our foundation because that's to be put in a 501c3. And that money will be leveraged then to create the money that the county needed to be able to actually put that sidewalk in place. So that is a team effort between the Sands family, again, the CMAC, the county, and the college to create something that's to the benefit of the community and the students. And I wanted to highlight that, especially after what we've done. I wanted to mention one other thing, and we talked about some. Jonathan mentioned them in his presentation. As we need to begin a transition. And that transition goes that COVID is now, if you want to call it a new normal, or it's just that it's going to be here, it is time for us to begin preparing and launching into next semester and the end of this semester in terms of what our core mission is and what we're about. That's student success. And so that survey that you were provided is very important for us. And so is the telemedicine and telehealth initiative that we have. That's one thing where we need help. And I'm hoping folks like Sophie can help us. How do we really get that out there into the community so our students really know it's there and it's their 911? It's great that we have it. That's the easy part. The hard part is to make sure that every one of our students knows they've got 911, that this college is provided for them to help them, and we need to keep working on that. I wanted to highlight when you go through changes and transitions, all the transitions we've done for the last 18 months. We had another transition, and I put it in the report. We just had a report on how to improve our bookstore operations. We transitioned from what we had as a locally operated bookstore to one by one of the major vendors. Whenever you have transitions in organizations, you are going to have problems no matter how hard you plan and how hard you do things. And there were issues, and we need to solve them. And this report that is going to get put out to the public starting tomorrow, most likely, that's our starting point to make sure that things that happen this time help us make sure our students have their books and supplies on time. That's crucial. And we didn't do it as well as we could, but it was a transition period. And we need to be able to understand that. But when it happens, our job is to fix it. And we're going to do that and make sure that we can take care of our students. Wanted to close out just one other thing that's in the report, at least in terms of perspective. The 2+2 Stimulus Advisory Committee has done a wonderful job. And they've recommended over almost about $2 million of things that we need to work on to help our students in our core mission, which is student success. And one of those that kept coming up, and thank you for that committee, and I asked them to keep it up there, is it's time for us to really seriously look at transitioning our ERP system, our enterprise resource planning system, to Banner from Malusi and colleague. And so John Taylor and Adam Rathbun are starting an effort to be able to gather information, to have a consulting firm help us to generate and gather what is the real cost of getting Banner. John estimated it a few years back at $5 to $6 million. Don't know where it is right now, but we need to go to Banner at some point when the majority of the SUNY schools are in Banner. and you want to have the ability to have access to information faster, better, then we need to do this. And so one of those that we can look at is bonding somewhere down the road after we do the research with the consultant. So I wanted to highlight that for you because in terms of institutional vitality, it's something we have to take very seriously. And that's my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much.
Oh, can I say one last one? I apologize. I got excited. We're having a session with several elements of the college and the manager of the now Gallo winery plant. It's recently Canandaigua winery of Constellation family purchased. And the actual national training manager for Gallo and the manager of the Gallo facility are meeting with members of our technology programs in Victor that would support bottling operations in our viticulture center to be able to create a partnership that we hope will be similar to what we're working with the Lake House. They want a partnership with us. They have one in Modesto, California with Modesto Community College in terms of what we're looking for. Employers that want to partner with our college to provide the opportunity for our students to go to school and go to work at the same time frame. And so we're not competing for the same pool of people to get things accomplished. We both win. And when we get one or two or three of these companies that are on board doing that, I'm sure you're going to see a lot more coming to us. And then we're doing what we're really supposed to be doing in terms of supporting the community, our business, and our students all in one. And that's it. We'll keep you up to date on that visit.
That's great. That's great. Thanks, Rob. Okay, we're going to start with some of our committee reports. And Sophie, our student trustee, maybe you can have a couple words and just share some of your insights. Anything that's on your mind at all?
I don't have anything yet. No.
Okay. All righty. Rob, you're going to ask Jeff asked us to give the ERM audit committee report.
Jeff, if you could please give the board the audit, the ERM report, please. Jeff, are you on mute?
Sorry about that. The big major item that we've done is reviewed and then signed the letter of engagement with Bonadio so that they can begin the process of doing their work as our auditors. I think you recall last year there was extra work that they did because of our staff shortages. So we don't anticipate that'll be quite as bad, if as bad at all, this coming year. But Bonadio will begin their audit process, and based on their schedule, when they're ready, we'll get some periodic reports as well as a detailed review of the final audit. That's my report.
If Donna and Santa can give the board report.
Could Donna and Santa provide the board development report, please?
Donna's on mute.
Donna, you're on mute.
Certainly. Penny, I did send you an email. We do have a written report, and so I'm just going to read from that. So this is submitted by Santa and I. Old business. Per board discussion in the past few months, the committee is scheduled to draft a resolution in October to update the bylaws, making the committee a standing committee. 2, we'll draft suggestions for continued collaboration with board leadership on retreats. And 3, we'll determine a plan of action for creating and updating board policies and working with staff and policy to add policy overviews to the FLCC website. Under new business, I will be attending the ACCT conference in San Diego next week, October 13 to 15. And if there are any topics in particular that you feel are important that I should find sessions on, I'd be happy to do that. If you want to send me a note, I will look for those. And we proposed that I would report back on the conference to the Board of Trustees at the October 22nd retreat, if that is something that the leadership team would be interested in.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
according to Steve.
And our next proposed meeting date was going to be either Friday, October 25th or Monday, October 29th, from noon to 1. And thank you, Rich. I did receive your feedback, and so we probably will meet on that Monday, October 29th. And the agenda will include a review of the committee purpose statement, prepare the bylaws resolution for November's board meeting, and the policies. And that's the report from Santa and I.
Trustee Hamlin, anything to add to the written association report?
Trustee Hamlin, anything to add to the written association report?
She's on mute.
Are you on mute, Trustee Hamlin?
She may not be with us yet. She might still be stepped away. Okay, we'll pass over her.
We'll pass over Trustee Hamlin and move forward.
Trustee Joan Geis on the foundation.
We'll go to Trustee Joan Geis on the foundation report.
Okay, I'll do the first one. Santa, you can give the second one. The first one has to do with the Constellation Brands Scholarship Dinner, which obviously we are not going to have this year. They're going to do it virtually again. It'll be on the 13th at 6:30, and Lewis will send out a link. They did it this way last year, and actually it was very interesting because many of the students gave a little speech, you know, on the video, and they were very, very good. So if you have some time on the 13th and you want to tune in, I would encourage you to do so.
And the last item is that Giving Tuesday is the next big push. It's on November 30th. It's a online crowdfunding campaign. Their goal is to surpass what they raised last year. Last year they had 79 donors for just over $5,300. So they do want to increase that by getting 100 people to donate this year in the one-day giving event. Thank you.
If Trustee Malik, please give the NYCCT report.
Trustee Mahalik, can you please give the NYCCT report, please?
Yes, thank you. And again, Penny, I do have a written copy of this for you. So the NYCCT Awards, I want to thank all the board members who sent in their nomination preferences for the awards. The Sands family received the preponderance of support this year, and there seemed to be only interest and time for one nomination this year. So the other suggestions will be forwarded to the Board Development Committee to consider for future nominations. And obviously, our nomination was successful. I'm delighted to report that the Sands Family Foundation was selected by the NYCCT Awards Committee to receive the Friends of Community Colleges Award, the highest honor conferred on a non-trustee. This is a huge statewide honor, and I want to thank in particular Penny Hamilton, the FLCC Advancement Office, and there were other staff involved I know who were instrumental in submitting the application materials on a very tight deadline. And we are going to be working with the Sands Foundation and NYCCT to determine how they might best be able to participate in the award ceremony in Saratoga Springs on November 5th, if in particular they do not have someone who can be in person to receive the award. The NYCCT Professional Development Conference is November 5th to 6th at the Saratoga Casino Hotel, focusing on how our community colleges are dealing with the continuing consequences of COVID and how we're going to come out of this. I will be attending the conference as FLCC's liaison, but I would like to encourage anyone else, at least one other trustee to attend this year. Student trustees, by the way, Sophie, are most welcome, especially at the Friday Morning Trustee Institute, which is sort of a boot camp for trustees, newer trustees, as well as board support staff. Paula Oldhouse from Schenectady County Community College, she's their chief of staff for the board, will lead a special session for support staff. There are hotel COVID restrictions and the rooms are booking up fast, but it looks to be a very interesting event. So if you have an interest in attending, please let Penny know. I apologize, Penny. It looks like I've typed Peggy and not Penny. So please make that correction for me so that she can get you registered by the October 22nd deadline. Educational modules will continue to be offered at no charge via Zoom through next spring. Links will be sent out prior to each session. There is a special session for student trustees set up for Wednesday, October 27th at 4:30 p.m. So again, Sophie, if you have the opportunity, that it's not formal, it's meant to be a meet and greet with other student trustees across the state. And there will be upcoming session topics that are considered for advocacy, workforce development, admissions, and SUNY audits. And if any of you have suggestions for topics that you'd be interested in attending, please send me a text or an email and I'll forward it to the NYCCT Programming Committee, as they are looking for input on what would be items that you really want to discuss with your colleagues across the state. And the last point is the NYCCT Foundation. The foundation is a separate entity from the NYCCT organization. NYCCT is a 401c6, I believe. It's a membership organization that can do advocacy. The foundation is a 401c3 not-for-profit organization, and the foundation has been reorganized as of last year. And we're looking for trustees around the state who would be interested in serving on this board, which supports the work of NYCCT to educate, specifically to educate and develop the professionalism of our trustees. There are only 2 required meetings per year, but there has been some interest in developing a fundraising and or grant development effort through the foundation. I don't know where that will go. There are currently 5 open seats in this class of directors. It would be for a term of 2 years. And the second class of foundation directors will be nominated next year so that there'll be a rotation of new and veteran members of the board. Donna Ferry, who's a trustee at Genesee Community College, is the current foundation chair. And the board of directors includes the NYCCT executive committee. So there's a lot of collaboration between the 2 groups so that the money actually goes to support the goals of NYCCT. And nominations are being accepted right now for a vote that will happen at the April 2022 Board of Directors meeting, which I believe is planned as a Zoom meeting. And if you would like more information about this particular role, please feel free to contact me, and I'd be happy to give you more information and to place your name in nomination if you so choose. And that is my report for NYCCT.
Thank you, Donna. Trustees or Trustee George on the student corp report.
Okay, student corporation report by Trustee Cushman or Trustee Abraham.
Unfortunately, I was not able to attend, so I do not have anything to report.
Yeah, there was, I think, a little bit of a mix-up, and we did not get the notification of the meeting. So we've got that squared away, and we'll be reporting out next month.
This concludes our meeting at this point in time.
Executive session.
We need to move to an executive session right now to discuss matters regarding the employment history of a particular person or matters leading to the employment of a particular person pursuant to Article 14 of the Civil Service Law, New York Public Officer Law, Article 7, 105, Section F. At this point in time, we will adjourn. We need a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn.
This is Joan. I move.
That's right, Joe. Move it to executive session. Got a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll see him on the flip side. They need to do the other link.
We'll see you on the flip side. We have to shift now to the executive session. And this meeting will be turned off and put back on when we go out of executive session.
I'm dealing with some, I've told all the trustees, I was diagnosed in June with throat and neck cancer. Never smoked a day in my life. And so I've just completed all my treatments, but the radiation is not my vocal cords. They told me in November I should have them back sometime. So, you know, I'm dealing with a feeding tube. I haven't anything in my mouth in over 5 weeks other than water.
Wow, that sounds so tough.
Yeah, it's kind of brutal, but I'm plowing through each day. I'm still working each day. And I've lost a lot of weight, but other than that, I'm doing okay. So, what are you gonna do? You know, life throws you curveballs sometimes.
Yes, it does.
But I've been going back and forth to upstate medical because that's where my primary is. He's my brother's roommate from college. I've known him since he was 18, and I was kind of the model of health. My God, the last 6 years, everything all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Shaving one day, I fell off, and bam, there it is.
When was that you first found it?
29th of June. It was 3 days prior, and I had my annual the 29th of June. And he took a look and he moved me right through. I had a biopsy the following week, which is unheard of. And so I started my treatments in late July, and I just finished it last week. So now I'm in this healing process to let all the radiation calm down. My nerve endings calm down. There we go. Okay, great. So we now need a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting.
We now need a motion to adjourn the general public meeting, please.
I make a motion to adjourn.
Donna Mahalik, do we have a second?
Barb is waving.
George Cush, Barb Hamlin, second.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
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 See you later.
Have a good
Take
night.
care.
See you later.
Have a good evening,
everybody.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
See you
next
again.
month.